Say what you want about Taco Bell, but it's damn innovative. At this point, it's practically its own cuisine.
Yeah, with a really limited ingredient repertoire, Taco Bell manages to make textural taste sensations.
With that said, we are going to reinterpret the cheesy Gordita crunch and make it our own.
They have a cheesy Gordita crunch, yes.
Can I get 3 cheesy Gordita crunches?
3 cheesy Gordita crunches?
That's it, that's all. Beautiful cheesy Gordita crunch. Cheese in there. Ranch sauce. Alright, we got the cheesy Gordita crunch. The beautiful flatbread here, which gives it a nice little soft, chewy texture on the outside. Go in, you have the melted cheese, not so melted anymore, but nice textural contrast, get that gooiness. And then for more textural contrast, you have the crispy tortilla shell, ground beef mixture, which really provides the umami kick for this thing. Monterey Jack sauce, which is more really kind of a ranch sauce. A lot of buttermilk there, provides a little tang and creaminess.
Let's give it a try. It's actually pretty much a classic taco flavor to it. Really tasting the cumin, and the iceberg lettuce gives it a surprisingly strong kind of like chlorophyll flavor that iceberg lettuce seems to have, sort of the watery flavor. And the meat actually is less repulsive than I expected. Has a little bit of meaty texture. It's not totally mushy. Let me give it another bite. Second bite, definitely at the top, there's more of that ranch flavor, and the crispiness of the inner shell is definitely maintained more on the top. So I think when we do it, we got to make sure that we get the real crispiness.
Instead of the traditional ground beef mixture, we decided to use chorizo. I'm not a huge fan of ground beef, and I really love this fresh Mexican chorizo we get. So we're just going to take it now, fry it with an onion, and throw some star anise in there as well. So right now we're just browning the onions. We threw some star anise in there. When those brown with the onions, it gives it a real nice aroma. It enhances the umami of the sausage, and it'll add a nice kind of Chinese-y type flavor.
Like a 5-spice, yeah, like a Chinese sausage. Alright, so we're going to remove the casing of this fresh chorizo because it really serves no purpose for us since we're not trying to keep the sausage together. We just want the ground meat. So just to take off the casing, just slit down the center of the sausage, and then you can just pull it right out, and it comes like that. To add a nice smoky quality to our meat, we're going to add some dried chipotles. And chipotles are just dried red jalapenos that are smoked. And you can get them in adobo sauce, which is like a sauce that has sometimes orange rind and different flavors. And they're reconstituted. But I actually like to use just the plain dried chilies because they don't have any spices added, and it's easier to control the sort of flavor and heat of them. And they tend to be, they range in spiciness because they're jalapenos, they're not always consistent. So you want to try them before you add them, but I'm going to soak a few of these just to be able to puree, because right now they're really hard. So I'm going to add some hot water, and then we'll just let them sit until they get soft. And actually the liquid that remains is actually really flavorful, so you might want to save that if you need extra liquid for cooking later.
So now we're just going to add in the decased chorizo,
and I minced up some of those chipotles that were soaked, so they're in kind of little strips right now. I like having them a little bit texture. And there's quite a bit of fat within the sausage, so it looks like it's a little dry, but I think there's enough fat in there that we don't probably need to add any extra oil other than what's already in the pan.
Should render.
Yeah. Alright, so as you can see here, we have a lot of nice browning, and it's getting sort of this dark amber color. And before it turns to black and burnt and bitter, we want to add some liquid. So you can either use like a stock, or in this case we have some beers with us, so we're just going to add a little bit of beer. You don't want anything too hoppy or flavorful, so this is just like a light Sapporo Japanese beer, and it'll just help deglaze it and add a nice kind of malty background.
So we've fried up our chorizo, and that's ready to go. Now we're on to make our sauce. It's kind of a ranch interpretation, buttermilk based, and that'll coat the meat.
Right, so I'm just zesting a lime here with a microplane rasp, and we'll be adding this to our ranch sauce. Jalapenos vary a lot in heat, and we don't want it to be out of control hot, but if it's pretty mild, we can add most of the pepper. So I usually just touch it. It's not very sanitary, but I just touch it and then kind of touch it to my lip. And if it doesn't burn right away, it's usually not that hot. So it seems like this one's actually pretty mild, so we can probably use most of it, although the seeds are not that flavorful or anything, so I'm just going to cut those out. Just cut it like this.
So for the sauce, we're going to start with putting all our aromatics in here. We have our Thai basil here. Throw it in.
And we got the seeded jalapeno. We're using the whole pepper now because it's not too hot. And then we also have just a peeled garlic clove.
Get our nice green onion in here, using the whole thing.
Yeah, this is 3 green onions. And then actually going to do a squeeze of lime juice just to make sure that the green from the Thai basil doesn't oxidize too much when we blend it, because we want to keep that nice bright green color. And then here's the lime zest that we did it before. I'm just going to sprinkle. This is the zest from 1 lime. Now, time for some buttermilk. And we're going to need a lot of salt also, because as you know, ranch is always a nice salty dip. So I'm just going to start with a couple of spoonfuls. And also some black pepper. Alright, so now we can see this is pretty liquidy right now. It's more like a dressing. So to thicken it up, we're going to add this really nice thick sour cream. And I prefer sour cream that doesn't have any thickeners in it. So it's important to get the full fat, because the low fat ones have like guar gum and stuff, and it's just no good. Who wants low fat? So we're adding a little bit of Parmesan to the ranch sauce, and that will kind of add some continuation of the cheese flavor that will be between the layers of tortilla and flatbread.
Perfect.
I think the Parmesan cheese added the right funkiness that it was lacking.
It's there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to make some traditional quick pickles with red onions, but I want to take the bite off a little bit since we're eating them raw. So I'm just going to put some boiling water over them for about 10 seconds.
It's basically blanching them, but actually a little lower temperature, so it's not going to make them lose their crispiness.
Get that? Just quick count to 10.
Drain them over here in the sink.
And then we'll throw some lime juice over them.
And then
a good amount of salt. And then just let them sit in the fridge.
Okay, so we're making the crispy taco shells now. This is with a corn tortilla. We use the yellow corn because the traditional taco shells usually have yellow corn. And I think a little bit more sweetness and flavor than the white corn, but white corn certainly works. So you want to put it in halfway, have a crease, and then want to push it down so that both sides are getting nice and browned by the oil. And some air bubbles might come up, but that's fine. Just kind of push them down. And we're just using canola oil, but it's also good to use like any oil with high smoking point, like rice bran oil is great. And now that the side's ready, we're going to flip it over and let the other side go. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then we got to salt them, just keep them flavored. Okay, and now I'm just going to fry a few of these squash blossoms. We've got them at our Mexican market. You can also usually get them at the farmer's market since they grow on squash plants and farmers generally don't need them. So I'm just opening them up so it's flat, and then I'm just going to drop it in the hot oil. And you only need a few seconds. But it'll add a nice color and crunch to the top of our tacos.
So we're using this Oaxacan melting cheese here. It's really nice. It has a little bit of sodium citrate in it, which lets it melt kind of like an American cheese. Gives it that nice, smooth, kind of gooey nacho cheese texture that we're looking for, but cleaner flavor than an American cheese. It'll pair better with the rest of the dish.
Look at that shit. Oh, yeah.
It's not that good looking, but...
Ew, don't touch it like that. It's so disgusting. Yeah, so here we go. You want to close up with that, baby? And so this cheese is actually like string cheese. It's kind of like the mozzarella string cheese. So it pulls apart really nicely. So instead of grating it, you can just kind of pull it apart for the quesadillas instead of having to grate it.
So right now I'm just going to compose the salad that we're using to finish it off. Instead of using the iceberg lettuce, we're just going to use some other aromatics. It's really important to have this salad. It'll cut the heaviness of everything else and give it a little brightness. So starting with the peeled red onions that we already made with the lime juice. Just throw those in there. They've gotten a nice red color and they've released a lot of their liquid. And then I'm going to take some scallions that we julienned and throw in some ice bath, which made them nice and curly. Some thinly sliced jalapeno, get that nice green flavor from there. Spiciness. Cilantro. And again, using some Thai basil. A nice freshness and anisey flavor. Give it a nice toss. Alright, so now I'm heating up my flatbread, making essentially a quesadilla. I have a lightly oiled pan here. Just want to get a little bit softer, and then put some cheese on. We'll do like a half moon quesadilla, and we'll open it back up and then put our shell in there. So any good stoner has done this a million times late at night.
So we made our meat, we made our salad, we made our sauce, and we fried our corn tortillas for the inside. And now that our quesadilla is ready, it's time to fill.
Open it up.
So you gotta open up.
Nice and gooey. Look at that.
That is like some
action.
glue action.
Taco Bell does not touch that.
Alright. And then just
Right in there.
adhere it perfectly. And then it's time to fill. So we want a fair amount of meat, but we want to also leave room for the salad.
I think it's enough.
It's probably enough. A little bit more on the edge. Alright. And now we gotta sauce it.
Beautiful ranch.
Liberal. Okay. And then top it off with some salad. And then instead of the grated cheddar cheese, we're going to use these yellow squash blossoms. Just for a nice little crispy
Lightly
garnish.
fried.
So we're going to fold this up. So we want to have this in half, and then you can just do one side over here, one side over here. Just fold this in, and we got our cheesy gordita crunch.
So we have the traditional Taco Bell authentic cheesy gordita crunch.
And then we have our recreation right here. Guess you gotta try it, huh?
Give it a bite.
Oh my god. It's like really crunchy.
So
Taco
bomb.
Shell is really holding up.
So bomb. I like that cheese is so gooey too.
Yeah. And
so
really
bright.
glues it together.
Perfect.
It's really bomb. Oh yeah, you got a good bite. You got the one.
That's really good. I mean, it's really good.
I don't actually eat pork, but this looks pretty dang.
That was a lot better than Taco Bell, but Taco Bell's still pretty damn good.
Thanks for watching. I'm Sam Ross.
I'm Ella Ross, and this is High Cuisine. And until next time,
Keep baking.